Good morning, y'all. It's Fix It with Fran, where I talk about all things faith, family, food, and fun. I'm going to show y'all what's going on with the AeroGardens. I'm going to give y'all the AeroGardens in this laundry room, and I'm going to take y'all over to the ones in the office. Oh, as you can see, there's a lot going on. So, none of this was supposed to happen. These are my Cherokee purple tomatoes. These were supposed to go outside. If you've never watched the channel, and if you don't know or don't recall, I'm in Louisiana. So we had those storm events and ice events and cold events, and it's even cold here today. So I did not get my things transferred outside like I initially planned. So this Harvest 360 has a 12-inch height. As you can see, this Cherokee purple has now far surpassed that 12-inch hood. Strawberries that were here are gone. They're done. Donezo. Didn't happen. Didn't grow. We're going to get a strawberry plant, bring that back, recoup it. I think I actually have a progress video that didn't post because I haven't edited it. This video is not going to be edited. It's going to be raw, uncut. You're going to get the footage. It's going to go up today. Today is March the 5th. My sprout trays, excuse me. This is my, I don't know, 2018, 20, whatever year sprout. Had some, what are they called? Rainbow Swiss chard that I moved to my kitchen harvest. And there's another one back there that's coming up that needs a little bit of help. Zinnia. Over here I have some more zinnias that I started. And then some lettuce greens in the back. One of my mystery seeds ended up being some like fancy lettuce mix. So that's there. And I'm going to move to the kitchen to show you the Swiss chards that I moved. Alright, so this is in my kitchen. This is a Harvest Elite Slim. Here is one of the Rainbow Swiss chards that was growing in my... Oh, and that's an ant. Gotta get that. This is one of the Harvest Swiss chards. Help us, Lord. One of my Rainbow Swiss chards that was growing in my sprout garden. It's going to come together. This is the other Rainbow Swiss chard, so I moved them into this harvest. I dropped in some other salad greens and this Genovese basil that was growing, I think, in my farm. This like red lettuce, still growing, still giving us out some lusciousness. I think too, because our kitchen is a little bit cooler, it's doing well. But what I was saying was, I think since our kitchen is a little cooler, and this tile, these are actually, even though I mentioned in the other video that this is peel and stick tile, these are actually like metal tile pieces, so they have a little weight to them and a little bit of girth to them, and they do hold temperature, I guess you could say. So they kind of reflect a little bit of the chill from outside, and they're not heated tiles by any means. So I think that helps, because this black seeded Simpson lettuce, I think in the last video I showed how they were really cut back, and it has come back full force, and still it's not forming a seed head at all. It's definitely still growing up and giving us more lettuce leaves. And checking in with my husband, he still doesn't mind the taste, and I don't mind the taste or find it to be bitter. So we're just letting it grow up. And what I still plan on doing is cleaning this up, cutting back some of these older leaves from the Swiss chard, and just making like a mixed green salad. We'll show y'all, since I'm here, the herb garden that we have going. Sounds like I need to add some water to this. Yeah, when you start to hear a little bit of an echo or like that water feature, I tell my husband it sounds like we have little fountains going around the house because of all the different AeroGardens. I like to add some more water to it. You'll see that it's not telling me down here to add water, but I don't necessarily have to wait for it to tell me, because I can hear it and hear that there's space in here, so I can top it off before. And to me, that just keeps your gardens from getting too dry, gives the roots more water and nutrients while they need it, to keep them from being prone to rot or things like that. that. I have also started adding in some HydroGuard to my garden. So I'll do another video and show y'all what I'm doing as far as adding in other nutrients like CalMag and HydroGuard and like pH up and down as needed, because I've started doing that again too. All right, so this is this herb garden that's over by the microwave side of the stove. I do have some other things collected in front of it. I have some sweet potatoes that I was using to grow slips. I have another little container here where I was breaking the slips off and letting them get more roots in water. That one looks a little sad. I just realized I hadn't added more water to this jar, so I had to top it off. I have some green onions here that we've been cutting off of and cooking with. Another set of green onions that I need to also water, that I put in a little pot of soil and have been growing next to the AeroGarden. And then we have our herbs and a little African violet or mini African violet that I just stuck into the opening for the AeroGardens. Haha, I think I got the pronunciation of that right. So I stuck that back there, and this is a brand new bloom. This bloom here by my index finger was the first bloom that it had when I purchased it here locally in New Orleans. So this is a new bloom. That in the back to the left with my pointer finger, and this one here is also a new bloom. So I was really excited to see them bloom in my care. So I think even these may be new sets of leaves, or they've definitely, grown while I've had them. So yeah, it's very exciting to see. And I think if I look to the side, yeah, it's definitely putting out some new leaves since I've had it. Ooh, and I just got a whiff of my lavender, which has bloomed. And I believe from being in my different AeroGarden groups, I've also learned that this is edible lavender. So I think, if I'm not mistaken, a lot of the varieties, this was one that I purchased in a kit and actually received as a replacement, because the initial box that I got, they did not germinate. But this was a replacement that I received from AeroGarden when I wrote them back for their germination guarantee. But that being said, they sent me these and I put them in. I don't know if it also benefited me that I got these during the winter months, so they definitely got like a chill even in transit. But they came up for me and came up kind of quickly compared to the other boxes that I tried. And I literally put some here, some in a garden that's upstairs in my guest room, some that's in a like a standard harvest model that's over on top of my farm here in the kitchen, and they all germinated. I haven't had any issues with them this go around, so that's been really exciting. But yeah, I do believe that this is an edible variety of lavender. I don't have any plans. I might throw it in on a salad though, because it's even on my fingertip now. It smells amazing. I have a lot of lavender, and I have some lavender anointing oil that I brought back from when we went to Israel with my husband and I went to Israel with our church one year, and I think it was 2017. So I really do love lavender. I have, like I said, lavender, like anointing oil, prayer oil, that kind of thing. So next to it is my thyme. This thyme is doing much better. I have a thyme upstairs that's on the struggle bus, and I was going to move it back down here, but I may end up maybe trying to harden it off and let it go outside and see if it does better that way. I popped in another mint to see if it was going to do better than the previous one. So far, slow going. But if you see in the previous videos, my mint was slow before and it eventually came up, so I'm not going to give up on it. Here are some chives that I believe are my own seeds that I dropped into a pod, just to update. More lavender, and I'm going to give some of these away. I have plans to gift some of these, especially around Mother's Day, so I'm just going to keep them going up, and slowly we'll see new ones get dropped in. And my parsley. The other day, my husband and I were going to make some chimichurri, and I was kind of sad that my parsley hadn't come up yet. So that's another reason that I wanted to get the mint going and this parsley, so that the next time we have something like that come up, we can use our own herbs. Here is some tomatoes that I rooted in water, and I don't think I ever showed y'all this. So I cut them off, and the roots are not looking that great right now because I need to, of course, get them somewhere so they can get more established, and they're not getting the oxygenation that they would get if they were in an AeroGarden unit. But these are ones that I pruned off of the gardens in the laundry room, and then I just stuck them in water. So if I did show y'all before, I probably said that one thing about pruning tomatoes is that you can always stick them in water and try to propagate your plants that way, and they will continue to grow up, especially your indeterminate varieties. And you can make sometimes a whole nother plant. So if you're pruning, doing an aggressive prune and having to cut back a lot, it's definitely worth giving it a try. So now let's walk over to the office. Nope, I lied. This is the farm in the kitchen. Now this is a seed starter tray. Once again, the events of this month and this chapter in Louisiana, the seed starter tray was never supposed to be this full of this much stuff. But as a true social worker, I'll say life on life's terms. I'm going to have to figure out how to get all this out. Oh no, and I have an onion that I stuck in here. It's trying to bloom. This is gonna be a mess. I have this mint that I propagated, so I did actually have mint in here. This is from the original plant that I gifted to one of my friends. I stuck it in here, literally just stuck it in the pod. I think I came back around and maybe added some rooting hormone to it. These mustard greens decided to live their best life, and now they're crowding everything else out. Gotta move those. I think I have some other Swiss chard over here that's deciding it wants to flourish. Can you tell I like that word? I do. Yeah, we're gonna have to do some surgical intervention this weekend because this is wild. And my cucumber. Yay! So these are supposed to be self-pollinating varieties. So I haven't done too much other than coming over and tapping on it like this. But I will need to come in and do some other little work here, because I do want to get my cucumbers on here. And my goal was to my goal all along with this garden was to let the cucumber grow up in here. But this has definitely turned into a jungle. This seed starter tray was never supposed to stay in here this long. But when the weather took a turn and things were going on and I didn't get outside to set my beds, I just had to let go and let God and just know that whatever happens, whenever I got around to it, I would come back and fix it. There's another little one down there by my pointer finger. This trindle is in the way. Oh, there we go. Good focus on it. So, ooh-wee. That's a lot going on down there. I can't even get to it all. Oh, I have some arugula growing in the front, but it's probably struggling because so many things in here competing for nutrients right now. Ay. Love the seed starter trays. I just hate when it gets to this point because it's been 31 days. So, yeah, a lot of this needs to come out. Gotta come out. Gotta fix this. Oh, that'll be a fun project for the weekend. But let me hurry over to the other garden before I need to get started with my work for the day. Now this garden, I just took out some lettuces that were in here the other night for us to have dinner. So I need to cover these holes back up. This is another black-seeded Simpson that's growing up. Looks like it has some little browning there. This is an eggplant that I have growing. Why my husband decided to tell me he doesn't particularly care for eggplant the other night. He's like, well, I'm growing 2 of them, so what are we going to do with the eggplants that we're about to have, sir? The joys of marriage. But yeah, this one, I guess if I could get a side profile, is at least a good, and by this one I mean that black-seeded Simpson lettuce that's growing to the right is at least a good 18 inches tall. So it's really growing. My eggplant has some good height in it too. Let's back up, see if I can get you to see it better. So let's move over to the Bounty, and then I'm really going to go to the office. Alright, this is the Bounty Elite that I have that has my tomato plant growing in it. So I've pruned it back, tried to keep it under control. Definitely have a lot of, I think these are Harvest Cherry or no, heirloom cherry tomatoes coming in. Then over here is a golden harvest tomato. A little African violet that's drawing up some water. Another little African violet that's hanging in the background. Some pepper plants that I was using this just to germinate. I have a salad green pot in there that I'm using this to germinate. The pepper plants, I was going to prune those out, and I did, I think, successfully with this one at the front. The one at the back, I'm going to have to separate those, but I plan on moving those outside again to the garden. My little African violets here that are taking their precious time to bloom for me. This is the one I've had since 2018 that I mentioned in one of my other videos. One of these days it's going to bloom. I'm trying not to be like over it at this point. This is one that I recently got from Home Depot. It's doing much better now that it's in a self-wicking pot. To the office we go. Y'all gonna get the full update, except for the upstairs garden, because I'm not going to the guest room right now. I mentioned lavender. So this is the other harvest model that I just spoke of. Move that out of the way. That's a, what is it? African violet propagation, mini African violet. And then some other propagations that I'm doing. These are the ones in the video where I successfully rooted them, that are coming up now. So here we have lavender, more curly parsley, lavender, petunia, African violet, mini African violets, and another African violet. Doing well, nothing really extravagant going on here, but still cool to see these blooming. So this has not bloomed in my care. This one blooms a white flower that I think is on one side of this. And now, finally, we are going to stop by my little mini orchids and then the office. So we're getting an impromptu house tour. How about that? I said house tour. I meant house plant tour. But these are some orchids that I got before Valentine's Day, maybe like the 10th or 11th. And they're still doing really well. When I got these, all of these buds were not open. So I was just excited too to see that they opened on me and didn't bud blast. So I got these particular ones at Trader Joe's. And I've looked up this company. They're out in California somewhere. So for these to make it from California to New Orleans was awesome. One channel that I have started watching that I have no connection to, no relation to, other than being really inspired by it, is the Black Orchid Project here on YouTube. So I'll have to, like, one, this is a shout out to them, and two, I'll have to tag them. So I've always tried to find rescue orchids, as they call them, on like at Lowe's and Home. Well, I've never found them at Home Depot, so it's usually been Lowe's. And I found two recently, but what he does is that he gets different orchids from box stores and nurseries and people that know that he can take care of orchids, and he like rehabs them and then like passes them out to different elders in the community so they can enjoy them. Like, that blessed my soul when I saw that, because if people know me, or if you actually know me in real life, like, I love propagating plants and doing little plant clippings and like giving them out to people. And that's another reason that I love house plants just in general, because that's kind of like part of the memories I have with my grandmothers, are helping them take care of their plants and doing yard work for my grandma. And it just like takes me back to that happy place in my childhood. So when I saw that he was doing that, I was like, I would so love to do that. Like, I love giving people plants, and it just makes me think of how my grandmother always taught us to give people their flowers while they're living. So I'm trying to turn this around to let you see the angles of it. Not necessarily doing the best job, but again, this is all just something I'm thinking of at the spur of the moment, and not necessarily set up to do it, but that's not going to stop me from trying. There we go. A little bit better of an angle. But I wanted to tell you about that. And I'm going to end up walking back to the kitchen to show you some of the recent orchids that I got from Lowe's on clearance. 1 second. All right, so this is kind of like my little project corner with these orchids. And I have to give a shout out to my husband because he just entertains me and my little pet projects and my little messy corners. And I put these over by the AeroGardens to kind of let them benefit from some of the light. It's always weird to me because I'll see things say that orchids benefit from low light, like these texts say low light, but then I'll be in different groups and places and they'll say highlight. They love highlight. And you know, you'll see on YouTube where folks say, oh, don't put them in the moss. Put them in horticulture. Don't put them in horticulture. Put them in the bark medium. I don't know what to do, okay? Like these two right here in this pot seem to be very happy. And I took them out. I checked their roots. Their roots weren't rotted. Their roots weren't soggy. So I said, okay, I'm going to put them back in this pot. And I loosened it up. And I loosened up this moss and the little decorative moss that they had on it. And I said, as long as they don't droop and do anything too crazy, I'm going to roll with it. Right here, I said, okay, well, this one was very wrinkled and very, what's the word? Like, it was... In no uncertain terms, it was just like giving up the ghost. So I said, let me try putting it on one of these self-wicking, self-watering pots that I like. And it's putting out a new leaf. So for me, that's telling me, okay, I think I made it happy enough not to die. And we're going to keep rolling with it. Like the leaves firmed back up. It seems like it's, even this one right here, like this one was paper thin before. And it was very wrinkly. And it's like I said, it's thicker. It seems happy, and it didn't turn yellow and fall off. I've had that happen before. So this one right here, like it's putting me out a new leaf. The leaf has definitely gotten bigger. And this one that I guess I'm trying to do horticulture, semi-horticulture. I don't know. I just don't want it to die. But it was also paper thin. I don't know what this browning is. I don't know if it... When I found it at the Lowe's that I was at, it was outside in the sun, and it was actually raining that day. I don't know if that's a fungus. I don't know. But it... And I don't know if it was initially too close to the AeroGarden light, so I moved it away from that. It feels a little bumpy to the touch, so I'm gonna have to do some research on that. But other than that, like it firmed back up because these were, I mean, they felt like a limp piece of tissue before. It was really bad. So they definitely have rehydrated well. This one leaf underneath is still a little, it's not as firm as the top leaf, but I do know from doing research and like learning about them with the master gardeners that are in my cohort that were really good experts with orchids, that they will draw nutrients sometimes from the lowest leaf if they need that to support the life of the plant. But all of that context being said, when I looked at this the other day, if you look in the middle, that's a new leaf coming out. And when I got this off the clearance rack, that was not there. Like, it was just these, 3 leaves. So, again, that's at least a note to me that something's making it happy. And it didn't die. So, I'm going to keep trying. And then too, when I look at this one right here, it looks like it may be trying to put out a new, what is it? Bud sheath or whatever that's called. I forget my technical term here. So, hey, we're going to keep trying to do it. But definitely I was inspired by the Black Orchid Project because that's something that is near and dear to my heart, especially the work that I used to do going to different assisted living facilities. After I stopped working with hospice, I still love to go out and take plants to the senior high-rises here around New Orleans. And a lot of times I did take the plant clippings and things that I was able to propagate and give to folks in rest homes and senior living facilities and things like that because they still loved having plants around even though they weren't able to get out. And even if they were on hospice and things, I remember I spent a lot of my time talking to my hospice patients about their plants, and that was often a way that we bonded. So that was something near and dear to my heart. So if you've never seen Black Orchid Project, check it out, and I will try to make sure I put the info in this video description. So, dun dun dun, the long awaited, I'm so proud of my new leaf, y'all, and this little baby leaf. But I am going to go to the office, like I've said 1,100 times, and show y'all those gardens. And I got a tomato growing. Spoiler alert. So, What Deborah Cox saying? How did you get here? Nobody's supposed to be here. How did you get here? You are not supposed to be here. This, my friends, is not a cherry tomato. Oh no, 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 no. This is the start of a San Marzano tomato. Why are you here, my friend? You are here because Fran has not taken these tomato plants outside. We're standing in the middle of a jungle. Yeah. Now this will show you that what is this? My Bounty. This is my Bounty Basic. But she's doing a lot more than a basic should be doing in life. Yeah, this is my Bounty Basic. But she is thugging it out like the realist. Again, these were in the seed starter tray. That is also doing the most. Let's pause for the cause. The seed starter tray that you can't really see because it's covered with tomato plants. Oh, yeah. With like a million blooms at the top. I know, like, the AeroGarden, like, police are gonna come, like, arrest me for, like, crimes of egregious natures. Like, I did not plan this. I really had all the intentions in the world to move these plants outside. It's not the last frost date in New Orleans was February 4th. February 4th. And then we have like global warming and nature and things happen. And I couldn't put my tomato plants outside and lose them. So I just had to leave them in here. I don't even know what it's going to. I haven't peeked at the roots because I don't want to freak out. I just don't. And part of me doesn't even know what I'm going to do when it comes to actually taking them apart. Like, well, let's be real. I'm going to handle it and I'm going to deal with it like a mature gardener would. I'm going to have to start the process of hardening these off, which I will do this weekend, because I can't just take these and put them straight outside. Like, that's going to, like I always say, you want to set your plants up to succeed. If I try to take these right now and put them straight outside, they're going to go straight out like church revival faint. Like, because it's going to be too much. It's going to be too much stress, especially as it's starting to warm up here in New Orleans. So I'm definitely going to have to follow that process of putting them outside, lifting up this bowl part of the AeroGarden, sitting it like on the front porch or under the patio for a little bit and giving it more and more exposure, like an additional hour every day for about a week. And that will help them get stronger, help the roots start to respond to being exposed to heat and helping the plant draw up more water. And then after about a week, 2 weeks, I'll be able to put them in the dirt. So that's being real. I can imagine how crazy this is gonna look when I open up the bowl, but we'll deal with it. And I'll also be real and know that, like, when I go to transfer this, I may lose 1 or 2 of these. But the good thing is, like, they're like 2 or 3 Roma tomatoes. They're like 2 or 3 of my Gardener's Delight tomatoes. I didn't plant just one of any particular tomato. So look at these blooms though. And the light's not on in here because with the AeroGardens, I tend to just use that light during the day. But they're literally all setting tomato fruit. So that's kind of amazing to see. And you'll see my husband got me these clips for outside. But I said, hey, I need to keep these because at one point they tried to tilt over and they didn't tilt the garden, but the plants themselves like rocked back. And I said, oh, let's keep these standing up at least. So I used the clips and they worked well. Didn't do any damage to the light. Held them on up. I have some other little marigolds and things that I had dropped in to germinate for the yard. So I do want to get these tomato plants relocated because I still want to germinate more flowers and things for the outside garden. So that's another reason that I definitely will be very intentional about rotating these around and making those moves. So let's go back to the Bounty and I'll give y'all a pineapple update that's way overdue. So yeah, let's get us zoomed in on this San Marzano tomato. so pretty. And then, like, I've come in, I've cleaned this up, I've pruned all this back. And a lot of times you'll see folks ask, even in my regular gardening groups, like, and you'll see this is like an old flower pot that I had. So, as I mentioned, this came out of my seed starter tray. This was not a, like, AeroGarden tomato or whatever. And I just stuck it into another holder and put it in here. Because at first there were only a few, plants in this garden, and like I still am holding spaces, so this garden is not full. There's only 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, there's only 4 tomato plants in this garden. So this, while it looks real massive and like there's a whole lot going on, it's only 4 holes occupied in this garden. This little what is it, Hoya rope is just sitting on top using the light. It's one that I had as a cutting that was a little, I don't know, it's dealing with some hydration issues, but I think it's starting to bounce back. This one is a little dry, and that, so I still have some diatomaceous earth around because these little pineapple plants of mine, which are much better now, my little good babies, but before, they won't punish me. So that's why they weren't getting any videos recorded. But I had an issue, I think I mentioned before too, where I think a plant that had come in brought in some disrespectful spider mites. And then it was looking like a scene from Scarface in here. There's a little bit of evidence still left over here. Move this tomato out the way. Where there was just, I had diatomaceous earth everywhere. Like everywhere. Now, yesterday or earlier this week, I came in here and I had cleaned a lot of stuff up and got all of that out, but I still need to do some more cleaning. I left a little bit of remnant too, just to make sure we don't have anything left over. And I got a notification that we need more nutrients. So I still need to come in and like wipe all of this down and clean it up. But I apologize, I left my topic here. These little bumps that you see, let's see if I can zoom in so you can really see them. Sorry, my alarm came on and turned my video off. But what I was going to say is that these little nodes or bumps that you see in here are actually the beginning of roots on your tomato plant. So as I was discussing already, my plans for taking these outside and getting these established, part of that includes me already cleaning this up and cleaning this stalk. Is because I want to make sure this is cleaned and clear, because when I go to plant this in the ground, I am going to plant this tomato plant at least, and let me pan out so you can see the true length of this, at least this deep into the ground. When you have a tomato plant that you're starting, even if you get it from like the big box stores, you want to put your tomato plant about a foot deep into the ground. And why is that? Because all of these places where these little nodes are, tomato plants are able to tap out additional roots. And again, because this is something that I started in the AeroGarden, I know that it's going to have a little bit of transplant shock, where it's going to have to adjust to being in the soil. And by planting this down deeper, I'm giving it, again, a better start where it's going to say, oh, we need to put out more roots and come to its own rescue. So, and there's more technical terms to that you can look up. But basically, the gist of it is, put your tomato plant in deep. Some people even say to plant it a little bit on its side, and it'll take care of the rest. And you can come back and look and even like pull back the dirt like in a month or so, and you'll see that all of this will have established more roots. And that, again, wouldn't matter if you grown it in the AeroGarden, if you get a transplant from somebody at the like a garden trade, if you got it at a big box store or from your local nursery. You always want to plant your tomato plants deeper into the ground. It'll give you a stronger plant. And as this continues to grow up, especially with your indeterminate varieties, it will be able also to withstand the winds and hold up stronger with your tomato cages. So just a little tip there. And here's another one coming up. I'm not going to touch it too much because I don't want to knock anything off. And I've come in here with my little, Be the Bee thing. I have a regular toothbrush that I use. Whatever I can do to make sure these get pollinated. So we got tomatoes all over the place. And this is a San Marzano tomato. I have an Arkansas Traveler tomato. These are tomatoes on the Arkansas Traveler. So I'm looking and I'm seeing some different like nutrient things going on. So some of that may be some magnesium deficiencies, where I do have some additives that if they were going to stay in here, I would have to start putting in, or at least putting in, the AeroGarden nutrients at a higher ratio, because these plants are going to have a higher demand than some of your dwarf varieties that would be more inclined to grow in the AeroGarden. Let's see. Over here is my San Marzano tomato. So I think this bloom right here is from that San Marzano tomato. But they're growing. And I think I mentioned this is a Hoya rope that is not in the AeroGarden, but it's just sitting here. This is an alocasia that I'll show you. This is interesting to me because the other alocasias that were initially growing off of this little root stub were variegated. And these are growing out solid green. Let's show you. Yeah, here's that alocasia that I was mentioning. So this is growing out like this, and that new baby is growing out like that. So I don't know what's going on with that. But there's still a mother root in there, so I wonder if the other pieces are going to come up like that or not. But I have two of the variegated ones, so we'll see how they continue growing. With these pineapples, I ended up moving, because this one right here has like 6 different ones. You can kind of see there's a big one here, there's a big one there, and then there's several other ones, other little pups coming up on the side. So I moved one that was previously in a back hole over to this garden with my Elite Gold, so that there was more room for this white jade to grow up. So there's now 3 pods occupied in this AeroGarden and 3 over here. I have some, what are these? Pothos that I'm propagating just in water. And I had one to show you. Oh, this one. The roots on this one are ridiculous. These are, I think there's some, what is it, golden ones? But look at the taproot on this one. Wild. That has to be at least like 4 going on 5 inches long. It's just chilling in the water. I'd like for it to put out some, like what they call tertiary roots, just like secondary roots from that main taproot before I put it into the dirt. But the other thing, I'll give you a little Fix It Friend Friday tip. So this is one of my baby's medicine vials that I have repurposed for my personal use with the AeroGarden. Because if you've ever really looked, I know I started off with the AeroGardens in my harvest where it was just 2 capfuls to fill in the nutrients. But as I started doing multiple gardens, it's like, wait a minute, like I got to put 2 capfuls in the harvest and then 4 capfuls in this model and freaking 12 capfuls in the bounty. Can't do it. It's too much. But if you use one of these medicine vials, and I think that they even sell them on AeroGarden.com for a price that I would not pay. You can get these pretty cheap on Amazon. You can get these pretty cheap at the like drugstore, grocery store, wherever. I would highly recommend switching to this method, or at least a dropper or dispenser method, because I can use this, and I think that for like the harvest, it's just 8 milliliters. So I just fill this up once and then do another 3, and that's enough to fill it up. So I would say to check into that, because filling up the little caps and trying to do that, it gets messy. A lot of times that's, I think, how I end up with nutrient deposits on my machines. I got tired of doing it, and this has worked way better for me. So just wanted to give you that little Fix It Friday tip. And we are now at the end of this informal houseplant tour and AeroGarden tour. I'll show you the other harvest later. I'm going to be moving around some of my plants and things, but as always, this is Fix It with Fran, where I talk about all things faith, family, food, and fun. Hope you have a great weekend. Happy Friday. And as I always say, I do believe God has given us all gifts and talents that can fix some problem that exists in the world. And while we can't fix everything, I do believe that we can all fix something. So until next time, I pray that you would find that thing and fix it. Thanks for watching.